take me through ICU and internal medicine. So like this whole COVID thing on me as well. I actually work on COVID wards. It's not looking good any at all. All right, so just brief reasons for my career choice why I decided to become a medical doctor. I mean, most of these would sound cliche. Of course, you're coming in to help people. Some would tell you directly to make money. Some would say for the influence. Well, all of those are true for me and true for many other persons. So helping others in an incredible way, doctors are trusted. When patients come to you with different, or people come to you with different sickness, ailments, they come to you with the hope that you're going to restore them to as close as full health as they were before. So you are definitely making a difference in their life when you can write a simple prescription to treat like a flu, you write antibiotic and it helps treat them. You're definitely helping them in a significant way. Also, the field of medicine is fascinating, never a dull moment. It's so wide and varied in different specialties. It can be in cardiology, it can be a cardiothoracic. And even though what you study in the books over the years, you think the patients are going to present that way with the exact symptoms. Some of them present very unusual, and it turns out that they did in fact have a condition. So that always keeps you on your guard, learning new things, learning how patients present. Of course, you're in a position of influence, respect, trust, and honor. Doctors are, I don't mean to brag, but I think we are the cream of the crop in terms of any society. When when you ask mommy or daddy what you want a child to be, the first thing doctor, then lawyer, nurse, teacher. So, and that's because it is a highly respected field. It has waned a bit over the years, but still a lot of persons respect the doctors and trust them, right? Because if you don't trust the person, you're not going to tell them very sensitive information for them to treat you. Another reason is the job stability and opportunities. There's some debate about this, especially last month in terms of in general, the fee. As I said, the field is very wide. It can super specialize in multiple areas. So that's where I think most persons need to hone in on their skills and definitely wouldn't have such of a problem in terms of job availability. But nonetheless, it's not just in Jamaica, all over the world, there is a problem these days. But as I said, if the more specialized you are, the more guaranteed you are of a job. And of course, I alluded to this earlier, never dull moment, always have to be on your guard, have to be on your feet, think of creative ways, think outside the box as to how you're going to treat the patient. So those are several reasons. In terms of becoming a doctor, there are different ways in which one can become a doctor. I'll just start with this. It's a proverb, Chinese proverb. It says there are many paths to the top of a mountain, but there's only one summit where the view is the same. So meaning that there are different routes. Some people get into medical school directly out of sixth form, while others usually might have to do 1 year over another faculty, science and technology, and then a transfer either. But nonetheless, if that is what you want to be and you work hard for it, you can become a doctor. In terms of the requirements, of course, these are broken down into two main areas. You have the academical requirements as well as non-academical. In terms of academics, I heard a previous speaker alluded to this. The same is true for medicine. You have to have most of your subjects. So I think most of you are at different levels. So those of you would be doing PEP. So once you're successful in your PEP and you move on to high school, then in fifth form, you usually do something known as Caribbean Secondary Examination Certificate, CSEC. So most of those should be in the science field. So your biology, your chemistry, your physics, and your maths. And once you're successful at that level, you move on to what is known as sixth form, which is grade 12 and grade 13. There, you further specialize in the sciences. So you do CAPE Maths, CAPE Bio, CAPE Chemistry. So it has to be the science subjects. Typically, you need 2 W units. So the CAPE year is 2 years. So you need CAPE W units in biology, chemistry, and one other, usually physics or maths. But I can even tell you that it doesn't necessarily have to be physics or maths. It can be anything else once it's a double unit. For me, though I did biochemistry, physics, and maths, I went outside the box because I like to be well-rounded. So I did law, believe it or not. It's totally different from the sciences. So I did law both units. So I could have got into med school with the biochemistry and the law. You don't necessarily need the physics or the maths. And that is a misconception out there. But the thing is, I believe that when you do all the sciences together, you're more holistic, but you don't necessarily have to. In terms of the non-academic consideration, of course, on the application, they're looking for well-rounded individuals. They don't only want to be book smart. You want to do like some volunteerism work, help out in the community. They want to be a part of social change in the society. So that is something that they always look on the application. So not just your grades, but also how involved are you otherwise in the society. In terms of expectations and responsibilities when you reach med school and even after, the medical career is a challenging one. There's a lot of information to learn and retain. There's a huge or high demand on your time and energy, and you constantly need to juggle these responsibilities. It is your responsibility that when patients tell you critical information or what's expected of you is that you'll keep it confidential. You don't go home and talk it with your friends or social media. And unfortunately, we have had instances of that where, doctors discussing among yourselves, the patient, when you're chatting people behind their back, and unfortunately that gets out. I remember in my year, in fourth year, one of my classmates almost got suspended because he was on the maternity ward, a baby was born, and he commented that the baby looked ugly. Took a picture, put it on Instagram. It was just one big mess. So you're expected not to do those things. You have to be very empathetic and very confidential with information. Also, it's your responsibility. You're in a high risk field. You have to be fully vaccinated or immunized, as well as that includes your booster shots. Because as I said, you're in a high risk field, you're handling blood, you're handling other bodily fluid. So you have to make sure that you get your vaccine. And even though with the COVID, it's highly recommended that healthcare workers who should have already been fully vaccinated, but for those who are not, that they take up the vaccine.
Huh? Yeah.
In terms of, hello? That's a question?
No, sir. Someone just had their mic open.
Okay, all right, thank you. In terms of other responsibility, of course, you're in a very professional field. You must dress appropriately. So like females, you shouldn't be in short shorts or cleavage showing. Males shouldn't be in the tight up pants. I know of some instances where doctors are going that route because it seemed trendy, but you really and truly don't want to carry on the profession. You should dress professionally and be well kept. You're expected to, come to work regularly or even medical school, attend your classes regularly and be punctual. In terms of just zoning more on the immunizations, examples of these include hepatitis, your polio, your measles, your mumps, and rubella, typically called MMR, as well as chickenpox, because you'll deal with pediatric babies that will present with that. And if you were not previously exposed or vaccinated, then you can get chickenpox in adulthood, and you can get a worse condition when shingles, whereas a severe nerve pain. We don't want anyone to get that. And of course, added to this would definitely be the COVID vaccine. All right, so at the end of medical school, after you've done well at your PEP exam levels, you move on to a high school, you've done well at your CSEC and your CAPE levels, you get into medical school. It's typically 5 years, a 5-year course, full-time. So it's very hard if you're going to do part-time, it's full-time. Typically in the first 2 years, you have classes how you're normally used to, where a lecturer comes or a teacher comes and they give you all the PowerPoint or all the lectures. And then from third year to final year, you're on the hospital grounds, you're interacting with patients, you're examining them, and you're becoming more involved in the management. At the end of the final year, 5th year, you typically would do, before I get there, at each year or each semester, you usually have evaluations. So you're constantly evaluated to ensure that you have a basic understanding of the principles that they expect you to learn during that semester. But at the end of it, at the final year, you sit one major exam. It's not the easiest, but it is doable. I'm a testimony of it. So once you constantly do your schoolwork, you revise, you examine the patient and you put things together, you do fine on the exit exam. So you do an exit exam in final year. And once you're successful, you automatically become a doctor. You literally just go and pick up the results. If it says pass, bam, you're automatically a doctor. It's as simple as that. Once you study hard and work hard enough. Typically at the end of that process, they typically have a ceremony. It's been modified now because of COVID, but at that ceremony, they call it the pledge ceremony. So this
Wait, sir.
here, hello?
Yes, so I want to ask a question. So like you say, when you get a pass, I become a doctor, so you can just go work somewhere else. Like you don't have to work as a doctor, you can just go work at a car dealership. And if someone get hurt and you can say, I'm a doctor, I can help.
All right, so let me put it in context. In a way, yes. So once you have passed the exam, you are still not fully licensed to practice on your own until you have done 1 year of internship. So you're expected that after you pass, yes, you have the title of doctor, but you can't write a prescription still. You can't just willingly go out there and just try to play a hero. It's good to help out, but you must know your limitations. So you typically need 1 year of experience working in a hospital, and they call that period internship. So couple weeks after you pass, it's not even a full month. So about 2 weeks after you have gotten that paper that says you have passed and you're, quote unquote doctor, and you have taken this oath, which is what I was alluding to, the pledge ceremony. You have to take this oath to become inducted into the field of medicine as a doctor. Then after which you have to apply to a hospital and do 1 year of internship. So for 1 whole year, you have to work in a hospital in the different areas just to be exposed. After that 1 year, then you are eligible to write your own prescription. You get your doctor's license number, which is yours for life. So after that 1 year, then yes, if you go to a car dealership and someone faints, and what you have learned in med school and the 1 year experience in the hospital, then you should be able to, even if you're not fully, you should be able to give some basic aid. But like I said, know your limitation. If you have to call other colleagues in the field, you will always have persons above you because it's a training, it's an apprenticeship program. So you can always call for assistance and for guidance. Don't think because you're a doctor, or even if you've done your 1 year and you can write your own prescription, mean that you know it all. That's not what we encourage in the field of medicine. There are always different persons above. You have residents, you have consultants, and they exist for a reason. If you're not sure, you ask questions. Don't just think because you know it all. Always ask questions. In fact, speaking of which, I just now looked at the oath. And if you can go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stanza 5, where it says, I will not be ashamed to say I know not, nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed. I hope you guys are seeing that. That wasn't pre-planned, but now that you mention it, I'm glad I see it in the oath there. So yes, that's where we are with that. So after you finish medical school, you pass the exam, you're quote unquote doctor, you still need to do 1 whole year of internship. After which you're eligible to write your own prescription and start treating patients. But of course, don't be afraid to ask for help. And you can become a general practitioner after that 1 year of internship in the hospital. Of course.
So I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
This oath, right? Do you have to say it when
you have to say not in the use. It used to be individual where each person goes up, but over the years they do it as a collective where everyone is expected to say it like a choir or in unison. But everyone is expected to say. Of course, I guess some people, because it's in a group.
So in unison, like some twins. So in unison, like some twins that just say everything together.
Right. So of course, because you're in a group, I guess some people will like mumble or just don't say it any at all. But for the most part, you are expected to say it. Right. Oh, before I get there. So right. So I was saying after internship, in the hospital, then you're a general practitioner. You can go out, open your practice, treat patients. However, if it is that you want to, like, you want to be a neurosurgeon or cardiologist or gastroenterologist, once you want to specialize or go further, then there are other levels where you apply to the hospital for training, or the hospital acts as a training and teaching. So yes, you're treating the patients, but you're also learning. Teaching and learning goes on. So if you want to specialize in a more specific area, then you have other levels of internship that you can apply for. You have, I don't want to confuse anyone, but you have something known as senior house officer, which is directly after internship. So that would be 2 years of medical practice in a hospital. After which you can go into a residency program in, as I mentioned, neurosurgery, cardiothoracic surgery, cardiologist, infectious disease. Or if you don't want to go in residency, but you still want to work in a hospital or a public clinic setting, then you can apply for what's known as a medical officer post, which is equivalent to residency, just that you're not in a training program. You're just kind of hanging around. All right, so in terms of positivities and negativities of a job as a doctor, sorry, my consultant just walking, but it's fine. Yeah. Oh, you're looking for connection. Oh, all right, sorry guys, my consultant's here, but he's cool. In terms of the advantages, the career is relatively stable and a steady income. Other advantages, there's a personal satisfaction of helping out people in the community. It's very diverse in terms of the areas of specialization, and there's always continuous learning taking place. Of course, there are some disadvantages, unfortunately. There's nothing free of a disadvantage or a setback. So the process, the steps of becoming a doctor, it can be very expensive in terms of medical school. It can be very expensive in terms of student loans. The time commitment, you don't have much time for fun, but I'll tell you, that's somewhat of a misnomer. You can have fun, and still work hard and still be successful. And I think the doctors of this generation have proven that. You go on Instagram, you see them doing like modeling and all sorts of extracurricular stuff. But overall, there's still time that's lost with your friends and family nonetheless. The job can be very stressful, especially now in times of COVID, where you have multiple patients to deal with, persons calling you left, right, and center. So that can make the job very, very high levels, have high levels of stress. And of course, another disadvantage is deaths. You can only do but so much. See, the patient come here trying to nurse them back to good health. Unfortunately, you cannot save everyone. There are some that will still die no matter how hard you try. I've had a couple myself. But once you do the right things and you do the practice and you're not doing anything outside of the norm, then it's not anything where you can get in trouble, because you've done all you can within the protocols, within the rules and regulation, but the patient still don't come back around. So that can happen. Of course, in cases where you do go outside the norm and it can be proven that that was not standard practice, then you're liable to lawsuits as well. I should mention, as I said, death, that includes the doctors themselves. You have to protect yourself or other healthcare professionals. You're helping others, but you have to first learn to help yourself. It don't make sense. You are there, you're stressing out yourself, or in terms of this COVID, you're not vaccinated, you're going on a COVID ward, risking getting COVID. That doesn't make any sense. You need to protect yourself as well. So in terms of surviving medical school or the whole, or even after when you become a doctor, it's a survival strategy. You have to plan, prioritize, pray, preserve. You have to schedule a lot of things, especially for me that like do a lot of extracurricular things outside of medicine. It's a lot of scheduling, it's a lot of planning beforehand, and a lot of prioritizing. Pray and persevere. All right, so you need to plan time, not just to study, but for exercise, for fun, and with family and friends, terms of prioritizing, similar, you need to know that when you're in med school, although you want to have some fun, you need to have the ultimate goal of what you're there for. At the end of the 5 years, you want the Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery degree. That's what MBBS stands for. You want that degree because you want to become a doctor. You want to help save your patients. You remember all those things I mentioned while you're going before. You want to help others in the community. Yes, you want to make some money. You want to be in a position of influence. Always remember that at the forefront of your mind. Don't lose focus of that. Prayer, I'm not here to push religion on anyone, but believe you me, having a connection with a higher being, a superior being, really helps, because there are days, even in medical school, or even medicine now, like on COVID, there are days when you legit don't have the strength and you can only ask the superior being to take it through. And persevere. There'll be disappointment. So that's not the end of it. Brush off yourself and reapply yourself. And at the end of the day, you will make it where you want to be. Be determined in achieving your goals. All right. And of course, it's nice to have a support group around you. Ensure that the support group is up to par with you, not anyone with negative energy that's going to drag you down. Ensure that they're just as goal orientated and as knowledgeable as yourself. No, I did mention that medical school can be expensive. There are several scholarships available to help fund your tertiary education if you're not fortunate to come from a family that can, find the money up front. And you pay by semester. You don't have to find everything one time. But typically, medical students, there are two main ways, and this depends on how well you do at your CAPE levels. So if you do extremely well at your CAPE levels, all ones, then you can get in what's known as a government-sponsored program, where the government pays 70% on the tuition, but it's still pretty much, the 30% is still pretty much expensive, over 500,000 per semester, right? So that's about 1.3 million per year, because per semester is like every 4 months, and the whole school year is like 8 months, 2 semesters per year. If you're not sponsored, you didn't do so well at CAPE, but you're still somehow made it into medical school, then for the whole year, per year, it's 4.2 million. So it can be very expensive. So this is where I would encourage everyone, if you want to do medicine, ensure that ensure that you do very extremely well at your CAPE, because from that level, that kind of set what your future is going to be like in terms of what your exact expenses are going to be. Fortunately, I got in on government sponsored, so I only had to pay the $650 per semester. And of course, the original fee is in US dollars. We have a very sliding dollar. So each time the dollar slides, the tuition goes up. So in terms of financing, of course, family members, student loans, church members, personal saving, but of course, in all reality, if you're not from a family that can afford it, then it's definitely would have to be a student loan or from other financial institutions. There are government scholarship. Again, if you do extremely well, you can get open scholarships from UA. You can get scholarships from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. You have private sector organization, Lujan. Lenika would know a bit about this. They do give scholarships. And in fact, several of my classmates, like Maurice Fisher, John Foster, and some others have benefited from this scholarship and are now doctors and are now specializing in their areas of interest. These are the links to some of the websites where you can check out the scholarships. I'll send this to Lenika so that she can send you guys at a later point in time, so you can check it out and see what the requirements are beforehand. So opportunities for the medical professionals, other than being a doctor, there are many opportunities. You sit on many boards. You can both in the country, regionally, internationally, locally, regionally, and internationally. You can sit on PAHO boards, WHO. You can work in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. You can be a consultant. It's just a whole host of opportunities that exist. You can go in the field of journalism, medical journalism. You can go in medical entrepreneurship, so like medical tourism, where you set it up where you have patients that come down from overseas for their surgery. They do it at a much lower cost, but still at the same standard and quality as they would overseas. So there's a whole host of opportunities. In terms of when you're in med school, you do have fun there. They try to make it fun. You have different activities. You have med law, social, wacky day, ratchet day, football competitions, uniform day where you dress up in your high school uniform. There's something known as smoker. You don't actually smoke. That is, like pantomime, or when you used to go to the plays at center stage. Medical students are creative. They usually in third year. The students would write a play of their own and have a big promotion around it. That has changed, unfortunately, because of COVID, but it usually was a fun thing. In terms of when other opportunities, if you want to be a surgeon or anatomist, you have society, you have a surgical society. If you're interested in emergency room management or basic CPR, then you have the UA Emergency Response Team, UA CERT. You can sit on the GIL. You usually have a medical science rep on the GIL, and you don't necessarily have to stay at that level. We have had medical students who twice, I believe, when I was there, who were the vice president of the GIL, which is a big thing on campus, student leadership. Outside of the UA GIL, you have the Jamaica Medical Student Association Council, so within the faculty itself. So there are opportunities for leadership as well. Not to scare anyone, but this is an anatomy class where you learn about more detail about the body, essentially. Med law, social, some pictures. For me, as I said, I like extracurricular stuff. So even in medical school, this was third year, I was a part of National Youth Parliament. So whole host, and there have been others. You have another one known as Romario White, who also did Youth Parliament, I think the year or two after me. So there are a whole host of opportunities. In terms of the future, we're coming on to the end. The field is very dynamic. It's multidisciplinary and ever-changing. You have traditional medicine that you guys would know. You get a cough, you cold, you go to your doctor for the antibiotics. You have that traditional stuff. But you have the new ones like entrepreneurial medicine, where you can do telemedicine. So a patient can stay at home and a doctor can be at home, and you tell them what your symptoms are, or they use special cameras and they can diagnose you on the spot, write a prescription to a specific pharmacy, you pick up the medication there. You have robotics that are being employed in terms of minimal invasive surgeries, biotechnology, so the development of vaccines and cancer drugs, and of course, public health and policy. So it's a very interesting field. And I encourage you guys, you don't necessarily have to be a doctor, but the STEM field is where the future is at. That's what's going to solve a lot of the problems of our society, poverty, climate change, cancer, and other illnesses. So I encourage you guys to strongly stay within this field. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure, one second. Yeah, go ahead.
If someone wants to be anesthesiologist, right?
Right.
Do they have to study the same stuff as a doctor or no? And do they have to spend the same amount of time and study as a doctor does in college?
Right. I'm happy you asked that question, right? So in other countries, there are provisions where once you know already what you want to be, whether anesthesiologist or orthopedics, you can directly specialize in those areas without doing general medicine. What you do is what they call pre-med school. But for here in Jamaica and in our associated campuses, yes, you still have to do the first 5 years of medical school. You have to do the general practitioner. Then you do the internship, you do the SHO year, and then you after 2 years of clinical experience in the hospital, then you can apply to the Department of Anesthesiology. And then if you're successfully getting and you start your training there, it's typically a 4 years. So that's another 4 years. Sorry, that's another 6 years of medical school in total. So 5 years of becoming a doctor in general. then the 2 years of internship SHO, 2 clinical years, and then the 4 years to specialize in anesthesiology. So yes, it would be extra time. But as I said, other area like in China and stuff, I do know that you can directly specialize without having to go through the preclinical stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Any other questions? No, nothing you guys want to ask me about? COVID, vaccine, anything else? Medical related? Nothing?
Good afternoon, Mr. Simpson. I have a question. What was your first death experience was like on ward? When you started your internship?
It was during internship when I was on neurosurgery. There was this elderly, about 72-year-old man, without going into much detail. He came in initially because he had a stroke, but you have different types of stroke. You have stroke where it's just due to a clot, as well as you have others where you have bleeding in the brain. He had the bleeding type, that's why he ended up on neurosurgery. So they had to drain it. They drained it, he was improving. And then the following, like 2 days after I came, I realized he was getting less and less unresponsive. Call saying that his blood pressure is going low, he's just not looking too well. And so I'm there, I'm getting all sorts of medication, injecting him in the veins with all sorts of things to keep the heart going, taking off blood tests, and thinking everything is going fine, but he still end up dying. So that was my first time. But thankfully I haven't had that much compared to others. I've had probably like overall like directly 4, but in terms of like, because you're on teams, in terms of teams, you definitely would see others. And then with COVID, no, it's really sad. I see those more often, like every night when I am on it. I have to be pronouncing like at least 1 to 2 patients. And what makes it sad is that you're literally like, you go in, you pronounce, and then you literally just take an eraser because you log all the patients on a whiteboard so that you can keep track of where they are on their person. And then at the end of it, it's like you're literally erasing them from life. You just rub their name out and put another patient who's going to come on the ward to replace them. So that is somewhat sad in itself, that you're literally kind of erasing people from existence when you do it like that. But that's just a sad reality of where we are.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. My next question is regarding the issue of in the past 2 months, there has been an issue regarding medical students not being able, some medical students not being able to acquire internships. Can you address that situation? Are you in a position to address that situation, or?
Okay, yeah, sure. All right. Blame everything on COVID, but pre-COVID, what would happen is, and this is more when you have, what happened each year, doctors move up in different positions. So you start out at internship, then you matriculate into SHO year, that is the second year, well, kind of like second year internship essentially. And then you matriculate further whether into residency in terms of your specialization or MO. Typically, once you're in residency though, you typically would do an exit exam. So they call it Doctor of Medicine. So that's what you have to pass to say that you're not just a doctor, but no, you're an anesthesiologist or orthopedic surgeon, things like that. What has happened with COVID is COVID has set that back. So a lot of persons, they're having to be studying and still working on COVID. They just can't, mentally, it's just really just unbearable. So you find a lot of them are deferring, which you can do the program. Once you're in a residency program, you can defer up to 2 years. You can go on leave of absence. So a lot of persons opted to do that in hopes that the COVID will go away within the 2 years. I mean, it's 1.5 years now, so they don't have like 6 months. So what you find is that that causes a backlog. So when they should be exiting, doing the exam so that others can move up, there's like a backlog there. And so the backlog is at all levels come right now. Less posts to put those persons. One would say the government should find money, extra money or funds to try and employ these persons. It's easier said than done because it's not just about finding the money. You literally have to have the areas where to put them and in terms of where they're going to practice. It don't make sense you just hiring them and they're not going to learn the skills. And then at the end of the internship, when they send them out in the general public, it just causes chaos for the medical field here and the diagnosing patients wrongly, writing wrong prescription. So we don't just want to hire people, we want them to get the hands-on training. So that's a problem as well. That being said, the MBBS degree, the one that you get from here in Jamaica or in the Caribbean, it's also recognized in other Caribbean territories. So like the small islands, Turks and Caicos takes a lot of persons. Antigua and Barbuda. Also in Canada and in the US, it's not well set out there, but in terms of the rural areas where their regular doctors don't want to go, they call it locum work. So locum intern, they call them locums. You can pick up jobs in UK, in the NIS, in the US, and in Canada. You won't get paid the same as their native doctors that are trained there, but it's still an opportunity. You still definitely will make more than what you get here in Jamaica. So there are opportunities there, as well as what I know, a friend of mine, he didn't get re-employed, but they took him in a different area. He's now in research and he's liking it, he's loving it. He has broadened his horizons. So they're trying to work the situation out, but it's still a problem. And once COVID is still there, it's still going to continue to spiral out of control in terms of where you're going to put these persons if you're not having persons leaving the program.
Okay, thank you so much for addressing that issue, because sometimes I know that will be maybe that thought or that issue will arise in terms of persons who are in campus who want to choose their medical profession. Additionally, you mentioned that one of your friend, you were saying that persons can work within rural areas in the NIS in the UK. Do they need to pass certain board tests before they are employed?
Ideally, yes, you have the board equivalent, but there are when you're in the medical program here at UWI, they have what they call observership and stuff like that. So consultants here can organize where you don't necessarily have to sit there equivalent exam. I mean, you can't freely just treat patients over there. No, you're literally there just to assist the actual native person that are trained. But you don't necessarily have to do their exit exam. But if you do it, then you are more recognized. You have more autonomy in terms of what you want to do. Whereas if you go under the program of apprenticeship, where you're always constantly under the guidance of someone, but still an opportunity overall. And as I say, you would still definitely make more money here than in Jamaica. Not to discourage anyone, but I mean, that's a fact. The US dollar is stronger, the pound is stronger. So of course, if you're working in the medical field in those countries, you definitely make more than who is working here in Jamaica. But you still make a decent living here in Jamaica. You can pay your bills, student loan can be paid back. You know, like over time, it takes a while. Over time, you get that fancy car, that house, etc.
Thank you so much. Lastly, do you have any tips regarding COVID? In terms of protection and keeping ourselves, keeping safe. As some of our campers will be returning to school
with COVID, right? All right. You seen this PowerPoint?
No, I'm still seeing your career symposium presentation.
I have to stop sharing that one and share the other PowerPoint.
I usually do. It's not necessarily tailored for you guys, but you seen it?
Yes, we are seeing it now, Mr. Simpson.
All right. I'm not going to go too much into it because I know time. I promised Lanika I'll be within the time. But in terms of how to protect yourself, basic care, get vaccinated. And you guys are students. The good news is today, Pfizer vaccine, which was already approved for $1. That's anyone 12 to 17. Those arrive, and those are the ones that they are setting aside for you guys. Some would argue it's more highly efficacious. They would, in fact, a lot of adults say they prefer that one. But I'm not here to push anything on anyone, but I would encourage when it's available for you guys, 12 and over, to take it up. And those who are over 18, where you have the others like Moderna and AstraZeneca, to take up the vaccines. Vaccines are not anything new. They have always been a part of our society. In fact, a lot of you would have recall that you have to get a vaccine to enter into primary school and then get some additional boosters to enter into high school. It's not anything new. I know there are a lot of concerns, there are a lot of rumors. It will have to be a presentation for another day. I can't go into too much of it, but a lot of these rumors have no basis. There's no science behind it. I'll just go to the main ones. One that will say that it was developed quick. Yes, it might have been developed fast, but there are 4 main reasons. The first one is in every other aspect of life, technology has taken over, has made it easier. I don't know why persons think that in the second thing, the virus that actually causes COVID is not new. All right, SARS virus has always been around. If you look at some cleaning agents, you'll see that it works for coronaviruses. It's just that the strain is different. So always known about SARS, there was already the blueprint of what it looks like. However, once the biotechnicians got a hold of the exact strain, all they had to do was plug it into the already existing formulas. The third thing is in terms of the research, because they have to test the vaccine is efficacious. Clinical trial with COVID. I mean, in Jamaica alone, you have over almost 60,000 cases. In the US, over 150 cases. In the UK, almost 200 million cases. So it wasn't hard to get the study population worldwide to see how effective the vaccine was. So although it might have looked rushed, it's very safe and very effective. So I encourage persons practice the other things. Having taken the vaccine don't mean you're fully protected. Well, that's if it's one dose. You need, for like Pfizer and AstraZeneca, you need 2 doses before you're fully vaccinated. And it's usually 2 weeks after the second dose. So even if you receive the second dose and you decide to be risky and go out there and party and expose yourself, then you can still be sick with COVID and still end up in the hospital. So it's 2 weeks after the second dose of the vaccine. So it's important to still, wear your face mask, wash your hands often or sanitize, distance. If you're feeling sick or ill, then the onus is on you to stay home until, you feel better, or if you got a test done, it says that you're negative. And, just encourage those around you. You are wearing your mask and stuff. If you've seen your friends and not doing it, then just encourage them to wear their mask and to wash their hands as often as possible. But as I said, the vaccine, that is a discussion for a whole nother day. It's too much to go into now. I don't want to go over the time. But trust me, it's safe. And there's this meme that they have online. They say that you go to the doctors are telling you that the vaccine is safe, but you don't believe them, right? But yeah, when the same persons get sick with COVID, they're coming to the doctors to treat them. It just don't make any sense. If you trust us to treat you for COVID, then why not trust us to say, take the vaccine that will help prevent it? Or even if you get COVID, you won't end up being so sick. You won't end up necessarily have to come into the hospital, and you won't necessarily die or have loved ones that die. So vaccine is safe. You can, for you guys, I know you're all at different age levels, but you can go on the websites, reputable website, not the ones with rumors. You can go on Ministry of Health website here, National Health Fund website here, WHO, CDC, reputable websites to read more about the vaccine. And just putting out there, if Lanika wants me like another totally different day, sometime down the line to go more into the vaccines and stuff, then I'll try and make myself available. All right.
My only question, Dr. Simpson, I assume you are vaccinated. Have you had any side effects?
Yes. So thank you for asking that. Side effects I alluded to that are some disadvantages. There is nothing free without some. No, there are mild. Oh, you know, about the everything is in this PowerPoint. There are mild side effects that are well known or documented. So for myself personally, the first shot that I got it in May, I got it in my left shoulder. I did have tenderness there and it felt heavy. It wasn't necessarily sore, it was just heavy and tender. But that lasted like 2 days the most. I didn't have any fever, I didn't have any flu-like symptoms. I did feel tired though. Tired and pain in in my left upper shoulder. Those were the only ones, but I know I had other colleagues that felt nauseous, they felt like they wanted to vomit, their head was tearing off. But those are known side effects. That's not anything strange and wonderful. There will be some side effects, but trust me, these side effects are better than actually getting the COVID. And patients who have recovered, they can tell you how bad it was for them. Well, thankfully they're recovered. I mean, they have the other end of the spectrum where you don't recover and you just end up on ice in all practicality. But yes, so you would have short-term side effect. Typically, it shouldn't last more than 3 days. If it lasts more than 3 days, then it's onus is on you to please report it to either the vaccination center or to call in on the ministry's hotline and report it. So some of the common ones, you get pain, tenderness, and redness at the injection site.
Wait, sir.
Hello?
I saw how slides are skipping through about different COVID. Can I go back to it, please?
Right, let me just finish this point. You can get a little headache, little tiredness, joint pain, muscle pain, or you feel nauseous. In extreme cases, you can actually have vomiting, abdominal pain, or an allergic reaction that has been very rare. About, like, I would say literally 1 in every 10 person would have a severe allergic reaction, but they have agents that readily reverse it. And this is why, and typically for the allergic reaction, it usually manifests itself within 5 minutes, if so long after getting the vaccine. So typically after you receive the vaccine, there is usually a 15 to 30 minute observation period. Okay. All right, so you don't just get the vaccine and you walk away. Ensure that you're fine. Anything else, anything lasting more than 3 days in terms of a little fever, headache, joint, muscle pain, or you feel nauseous or tired, then report it to us. The different vaccines, where is it? I know this, right. So these are all the ones that are, every single one of them are approved by WHO. At the time when I made this slide, only AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna were approved by WHO. But since then, Johnson & Johnson, which is the only single dose vaccine. So this is the exception to being fully vaccinated. If you get like Pfizer, Moderna, or AstraZeneca, the Johnson & Johnson is the only exception. All the other ones are 2-dose vaccines. All of them are highly efficacious. There's the rule that says the best vaccine is the first one that's available. You have persons who will say that they're waiting on Pfizer or Moderna. Yes, it's here now, but those are really reserved for like you guys, adolescents. But you can't necessarily wait, because in that waiting period, you're susceptible to catching COVID, and the outcome might be dire. So while you're there waiting for Pfizer or Moderna or whichever one you prefer, or the Cuban one, it might be too late. So the rule is the best vaccine is the one that's available. And currently the one that's widely available for the population is the AstraZeneca.
Wait, sorry, there was a slide with some other COVIDs. Can you go back to like red, blue? Can you go back to that slide, sir? With some COVID, I'm not sure, but it had like different colors.
Like which one? This?
Back some more. No, back some more. Like that, yeah. There was a blue one too.
Yeah, that's the summary. Yeah. But as I said, it's a long slide. Are you seeing it? No, oh, that's me, by the way, in the bottom right. That's my first shot. I got the second one in May. That was in March. Seeing it?
Sir, go back. Is that the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, go back to the first one,
I
sir.
don't think you're not seeing the one you're asking me for?
The green one. Go back to the green one, sir. No, go back. Go no, other way. Sir, the other way.
This?
No, the other way.
I think he wants to see the P1 variant.
You mean the variant?
Yeah, the variant.
That one was the Brazilian variant.
On to read the variants.
Well, Drew, I think we have to remember we have the campaign to continue with us. So
oh, he look like he disconnected. I think he disconnected.
Yeah. I don't know if he's
sorry, yes, I got a bit disconnected a while ago. Sorry about that.
But Drew, man, we I guess you could share it back with Dr. Simpson, but Drew, I think we remember we have the other things to do as well. We have to give you all your awards. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, Dr. Simpson. I loved how you touched on, vaccinations as well, because I know that is a hot topic. I wouldn't lie, I did not expect vaccinations to become so politicized and religiousized or something. I don't know if that's a word, but right. I didn't expect it to be as it was, because I'm fully vaccinated. I got my first dose in April. And I got my second dose in June. I got the AstraZeneca. I must admit the second dose I got really bad headaches, but I also struggle with headaches generally. So right. My mom was fine though. My mom got also a little more adverse side effects from the second dose. She was fine. She just has a heart palpitation issue that she has always had. And my grandmother got Sinopharm, and she is better than everyone. Right. And yes, I think so. My entire family, more or less my entire family is vaccinated. All my friends are